27th. Welcome to your coffee break on the HKN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and some Ridgefield residents woke up to an earthquake this morning. We also have news on new arrests in a Trumbull gunpoint robbery and much more. Donald Ang is in for Frank Granito today with more on the forecast, a Nutmeg Sports update, and his look back on this day in history. But first, Ridgefield residents woke this morning feeling a bit rattled. That's because a magnitude 2.2 earthquake was registered in the Lake Mohegan area of New York, west of Golden's Bridge at about 6:15 a.m. That according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Now, several residents posted on social media about that quake. One said rattled windows in Ridgeberry and a deep rumble. Another resident near Rainbow Lake said that things fell in their children's rooms. Now, there were no immediate reports of injuries or damage. Now, West Lane residents and some others in the downtown area also reported feeling that quake. Now, Lake Mohegan is about 50 miles north of New York City. Ridgefield has experienced quakes in the past because it lies on Cameron's Line. That's a fault that runs from Manhattan northeasterly through Westchester and into Ridgefield. Now, the last earthquake that was felt in town was on October 19th, 1985. There's more on that history at theridgefieldpress.com. And Trumbull police have arrested more suspects in an October gunpoint robbery near Canoe Brook Lake. 21-year-old Jamal May of Trumbull and 21-year-old Alan Elliott of New Haven were charged last week with fourth-degree larceny, first-degree robbery, third-degree assault, and interfering with police. Now, the arrests of May and Elliott bring the total number of arrests from that incident to at least 3. State law prohibits the release of information on any suspects under the age of 18. Now, that incident occurred on October 9th when 2 Trumbull teens were assaulted and robbed in a secluded area near the lake. The teens had gone to meet with an acquaintance to socialize and smoke pot at about 9 p.m., but police said the meeting was a setup to the robbery. Now, police said the 2 met the acquaintance who was already parked in the area, and then a male got out of the acquaintance's car and into the backseat of the victim's car. He then held a gun to that victim's head and ordered the 2 out of the car. Trumbull police have since learned that that gun was a BB gun. Well, as they exited, 3 or 4 males exited that acquaintance's car, and the victim was ordered to the ground and robbed of his wallet, phone, and money as he was repeatedly kicked in the face and the head. Now, the victim's friend also had his phone taken before those attackers fled the scene in the other vehicle. The victim was later treated for his minor injuries, and the victim and his friend later identified that acquaintance, who was arrested a short time later at his home in Trumbull. The 17-year-old was charged with first-degree robbery, third-degree assault, and fifth-degree larceny. And in other news, the Stanford Advocate reports that Stanford police investigators are looking into how a near 3-month-old baby was seriously injured on Stanford's east side Tuesday. Medics were called to the baby's home on William Street at about 3 in the afternoon because the baby was unresponsive. That according to Sergeant Joseph Kennedy. Police were notified by Stanford Hospital employees that once the baby was diagnosed with what Kennedy would only describe as head trauma. The baby was then airlifted to Yale New Haven Children's Hospital and is in stable but critical condition in what Kennedy assumes is the pediatric intensive care unit. Kennedy, who commands the Youth Bureau unit of the police department, which investigates crimes by and against children, was standard operating procedure for police to investigate any serious injuries like these. And a man originally thought to be an innocent bystander to a fight that broke out in the middle of morning traffic back in October on the Post Road in Westport has now been arrested. Now, Westport police shared disturbing video of that assault back in October, and it was posted by westportnow.com. Take a look. Now, police say 41-year-old Jose Alvarado of Bridgeport originally claimed to be a helpful bystander in that incident, but was later determined by detectives to have partaken in the assault and known to one of the fighters, Fernando Morales of Derby. Now, an arrest warrant was granted for Alvarado, and on February 2nd, he was detained by the Connecticut State Police Troop G and transported to Westport Police Headquarters, where he was charged with second-degree assault and released after posting a $25,000 bond. Now, some of this video shows Rafael Valle of Bridgeport exit a white van that proceeded to drive down the wrong side of the road in the wrong direction. Morales is seen chasing after Valle, who falls to the ground prior to that assault. The fight was said to have originated in Derby. And the State Environmental Conservation Police are asking for help finding the owner of an abandoned boat strangely left in the woods of northwestern Connecticut. Now, that vessel was left in the Housatonic State Forest off of Town Street in Cornwall, Connecticut. ENCOM police are asking for your help in identifying the person who owns it or is responsible for abandoning that vessel. They believe it was abandoned on or about January 27th. Anyone who may have any information or recognizes that vessel can contact their 24-hour emergency dispatch center at 860-424-3333. They say all tips will remain confidential. All right, well, let's take a turn now. Throw it over to Donald Eng for a look at your forecast. Don, it's a little snowy out there right now.
It is a little snowy out there. It looks like it's slowed up for the moment, but it is expected to resume. We have a winter weather advisory in effect today until 5 p.m. tomorrow. We're expecting snow, freezing rain, sleet until about 2 o'clock, then freezing rain from 2 to 3, and then rain after 3. A high near 40, but that could depend on your elevation. We're kind of right at the border of sleet and freezing rain. Also, the rain will continue until about 9 o'clock tonight, and then the temperatures are expected to drop into the low 20s. So there could be some significant icing conditions out on the roads. Snow and sleet accumulation 1 to 2 inches expected throughout the day. About 1/10 of an ice also could be underneath that, so be careful if you're on the roads. Tomorrow, sunny, only going to be about 30 degrees, wind chills about 15 with a 10-mile-an-hour wind. Tomorrow night, cloudy, dropping down into the teens before it warms back up into the mid-30s on Friday. And then, dare we say it, a little bit more precipitation. Could be some snow, more likely rain as we go from Friday into the weekend. So not a great forecast. A good day for some hot cocoa or something, particularly since all the kids are home from school. But that's going to do it for this forecast, and we'll be back after the break for another one.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, we are going to step out for a break. When we come back, Don will give you a look back on this day in history. He also has your Nutmeg Sports update, and we have more local news, including a scam alert from Greenwich Police, coming up after this.
Want a new experience in car buying? Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Our Ram trucks get the job done with unparalleled style and performance. Call, click, or stop in to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck that you've been looking for. Family owned and operated for over 50 years. Save thousands right now at the President's Day event and Ram Truck Month. Ends February 28th.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 3 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue, Norwalk, 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien, or in the Westport Medical Center at 323 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Go to myorthoct.com, like them on Facebook.
Set sail on a summertime adventure with Sail Away Sailing School. Located in Captain's Cove Seaport in Bridgeport, we're sailing June 18th through August 10th. 2 sessions offered daily, Monday through Friday for ages 9 to 15. Have fun, make friends, learn to sail. Visit teamsailaway.com.
Welcome back to this February 7th edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. Time to take a look back on this day in history with Donald Eng. Don.
Well, Kate, it was a case of better late than never for one of the United States, though. First, we're going to go back to 1497. Followers of the Bishop Girolamo Savonarola burned cosmetics, art, and books in Florence, Italy. Ironically, Florence was the center of the Italian Renaissance, but this was called the Bonfire of the Vanities. It was essentially a backlash against these kind of things that make people vain or particularly caring about their appearance. Now, the incident has become a bit of a metaphor with similar themes turning up in various dystopian novels and movies, including the 1980s Tom Wolfe book and subsequent movie, and also the Netflix movie Handmaid's Tale, to name a few. 1795 now, the 11th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution is ratified. This marks the first amendment passed after the Bill of Rights. The 11th Amendment bans private citizens of one state from suing another state in federal court. Now, of the U.S. amendments, this has not been litigated very often, although the Supreme Court did assert in 1999 that the 11th Amendment applies to the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico, but not to the territories of American Samoa or the U.S. Virgin Islands. 1979 now, the Pluto moves inside of Neptune's orbit for the first time since either was discovered. From 1979 until 1999, Neptune was the farthest planet from the Sun. Of course, Neptune is once again the most distant planet because in 2006, Pluto was relegated to a dwarf planet. Pluto, by the way, takes a long time to orbit the Sun. It will not be closer to the Sun than Neptune again for another 209 years. Finally, now we go to 2013, the 5th anniversary of this momentous occasion in Mississippi. Check it out.
If you thought the U.S. completely abolished slavery back in 1865, wrong. The actual date is February 7th, 2013. That's the day Mississippi officially ratified the 13th Amendment. Can you believe that? Fox News reports the Steven Spielberg movie Lincoln is what sparked a local professor to do a little research. Dr. Ranjan Batra, associate professor.
Yes, as you see, the movie Lincoln, which came out in 2013, inspires a local college professor to look into the 13th Amendment, which is the one that abolished slavery, and surprisingly, Mississippi had never actually adopted it. Now, the 13th Amendment had been approved by Congress in 1865 and had gone to the states for ratification. Mississippi at the time voted against it, and that vote stayed their vote of record until 1995, when the state reconsidered and voted to adopt the 13th Amendment. But for reasons that have never quite been made clear, the Secretary of the State never saw fit to notify the U.S. Archivist, and therefore it was just 5 years ago today that the state of Mississippi officially outlawed slavery within its borders. That is your look back in history for today, February 7th, and I'm Donald Eng.
All right, thanks so much, Don. We'll throw it back to you for a Nutmeg Sports Update in just a bit. But in other local news, Greenwich police are warning residents about a new cyber scam targeting Netflix customers. Now, if you are a Netflix user, be aware of an internet scam directing customers to update the financial details of their accounts. The subject line reads, "Your suspension notification," and then the body of the email informs victims that their accounts have been suspended due to a billing issue. The email then directs recipients to click a link that redirects them to a fake Netflix landing page. That fake landing page directs victims to input their user information and billing details in an effort to harvest credentials. Now, you can protect yourself by recognizing that this may be a scam. You can verify the sender's email address from a trusted source, and do not click on any embedded hyperlinks in the email messages. And the Weston Fire Department and EMS responded to a motor vehicle accident with injuries Tuesday afternoon. They shared some photos of that crash on the fire department Facebook page. Now, this accident happened in front of 125 Davis Hill Road. They say that 3 occupants were transported to Norwalk Hospital, thankfully with non-life-threatening injuries. And for years, Darien has been served by Post 53 as a primary form of emergency response. Well, recently, Darien brought their own paramedics to town, and those paramedics and EMS technicians have worked tirelessly to serve the community. Now, one of those paramedics is facing a health crisis of his own, and Darien is stepping up to give back. Bob Kohler is married and a father of 2, and he's been with Stamford EMS since 2005 and now serves the town of Darien alongside members of Post 53. Well, Kohler recently had routine blood work done after an accident and was diagnosed with stage 4 mantle cell lymphoma. That's an incurable blood and lymph cancer that affects only 6% of all lymphoma patients. Well, the disease is rare, and Kohler has begun aggressive chemotherapy treatment and has still been given about a 60% chance for survival. While successful treatment and chemotherapy could mean years of living with the cancer in remission, the treatment itself will take an enormous toll on Kohler's health, rendering him unable to serve the community that he's worked tirelessly for 10 years. Well, friends of Kohler and family are aiming to help, and as taxing as the treatment is physically and emotionally, the costs are astronomical, and insurance does not cover all the procedures that are nothing short of life-sustaining. Well, a GoFundMe page has been started to help the family deal with the challenges and costs of treatment, and in just over a month, $28,000 has been raised with donations coming from friends, loved ones, and members of the EMS community. To find a link to that fundraising page, you can visit DarienTimes.com. And in other news, the town of Monroe is encouraging qualified local housing rehabilitation contractors to apply for opportunities to bid on projects funded through a Small Cities grant. While funded through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the town of Monroe was recently awarded a $400,000 grant through the 2017 Small Cities Grant Program. Now, this provides access to 0% internet loans to qualified homeowners in need of health and safety improvements. Approximately 12 projects will be competitively bid over the next 18 months in this program. The town uses a grant administrator for the program who maintains an ongoing list of qualified contractors. Now, while contractors do not need to be local, officials emphasize that they wanted to ensure that Monroe businesses were given an opportunity to be included on that list. You can get more information at monroecourier.com. And the Wilton Democratic Town Committee welcomed 4 candidates for state government at its meeting on Tuesday evening. Jonathan Harris and Ned Lamont, both running for governor, Attorney General candidate Chris Maddie, and Arunam Alpalamam, who is running for state treasurer. Now, Harris is the former mayor of West Hartford and the former commissioner of the Department of Consumer Protection. He spoke of the state's economic assets and quality of life. Take a look.
Worse than some of the challenges we're facing is the fact that the negativity is so bad. Everybody seems to want to just throw rocks at one another and not actually come and create the practical solutions. We have a great state. We have a lot of assets. We're in between 2 metropolises. Instead of trying to be like them, like we too often do, let's connect into them better with infrastructure, with rail, with fiber optics, and leverage that economic asset. We have a good quality of life in this state in most places. We have health indices, mental health, physical health that are high. We have an educated and skilled workforce. We have a lot of assets that if we just sit down and connect the dots, we can do a lot better here in the state of Connecticut.
Now, Ned Lamont, who joined the race just last month, is a Greenwich businessman who lost a primary bid for governor to Daniel Malloy in 2010. He's probably best known in Connecticut politics for defeating Senator Joe Lieberman in a Democratic primary in 2006. Lamont spoke of the need for unity in the state, and he also spoke about tolls. Take a look.
Another place that's gotten very partisan, as Jonathan knows, is tolling. I mean, I found that business and labor were unified. That if this state was a dead end, as opposed to the gateway to New England and the gateway to New York and the gateway to probably 1/4 of the American economy, instead if we're a dead end and slowed by an aging transportation infrastructure, business and labor knew that we were going to die as a state. That we had to have the predictable revenue stream that we could fix our roads, fix our bridges, make sure we don't cut back on train service, but expand train service, make it more regular, a high-speed rail service from Hartford, New Haven, Stamford, New York. That would be transformative in terms of A, keeping young people, getting them back, moving goods, moving people, getting those cars off the road. And that's become a big partisan football up in Hartford. It's sad to see. And I need folks in Wilton and other places to stand up and talk to your Republican friends. We don't have a choice. The gasoline tax, people driving in their Teslas, the cars that go forever, you know, this is all good stuff, but it means the gasoline tax no longer can fix the Mianus River Bridge, and we're going to need it fixed.
And thanks so much to HAN's Wilton Bulletin for those videos. All right, well, we're going to throw it back over to Donald Eng now for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Don.
Well, thanks, Kate. And first off, to the viewers, tonight's hockey matchup at the Darien Ice House between the Blue Wave and Ridgefield High has been postponed to a later date due to the inclement weather that we're experiencing today. So that will not be part of our broadcast today. On to last night's action in boys basketball. Stamford knocked off Ward 59-54. Ridgefield took down St. Joe's 75-35. Trinity Catholic over Danbury 65-57. Darien won its third straight 67-55. Norwalk 56, McMahon 53. We also had the Hilltoppers of Bridgeport Central beating Greenwich 58-47, and Ludlow over West Hill 54-48 in overtime. On the girls' side, Danbury over Trinity 53-42. Greenwich beat Central 57-38. Ridgefield over St. Joe's 54-47, and Ludlow breezing past West Hill 60-33. Darien also beating Staples 47-36. On wrestling, winners included Ward, New Canaan, West Hill, Trumbull, and Ridgefield on the wrestling mat in the FCAC duels. So, and then just a quick reminder, tonight's game at the Darien Ice House is postponed due to the inclement weather, so that will not be part of today's broadcast. So that's your Nutmeg Sports Update. Go back to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Don. And we are going to step out for a break. When we come back, we're going to recap some of the top stories we're following today and get one final look at your forecast after this.
Voted Best Gourmet to Go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, Lisa 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, recapping some of the top stories we're following today. Ridgefield residents woke this morning feeling a bit rattled, and that's because a magnitude 2.2 earthquake was registered in the Lake Mohegan area of New York, west of Golden's Bridge at 6:15 a.m. That according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Now, several residents posted on social media about that quake. One said rattled windows in Ridgebury and a deep rumble. Another resident near Rainbow Lake said that things fell in their children's rooms. Now, there were no immediate reports of injuries or damage. Now, West Lane residents and some others in the Ridgefield downtown area also reported feeling that quake. Now, Lake Mohegan is about 50 miles north of New York City, and Ridgefield has experienced quakes in the past because it lies on Cameron's Line. Now, that's a fault that runs from Manhattan northeasterly through Westchester and into Ridgefield. The last earthquake that was felt in town was on October 19th, 1985, and there's more on that history at theridgefieldpress.com. And Trumbull police have arrested more suspects in an October gunpoint robbery near Canoe Brook Lake. 21-year-old Jamal May of Trumbull and 21-year-old Alan Elliott of New Haven were charged last week with fourth-degree larceny, first-degree robbery, third-degree assault, and interfering with police. Now, the arrests of May and Elliott bring the total number of arrests from the incident to at least 3. State law prohibits the release of information on suspects under the age of 18. Now, that incident occurred back on October 9th when 2 Trumbull teens were assaulted and robbed in a secluded area near the lake. The teens had gone to meet with an acquaintance to socialize and smoke pot at about 9 at night, but police said that meeting was a setup for the robbery. Trumbull police said the 2 met the acquaintance, who was already parked in the area, and that a male got out of that car and into the back seat of the victim's car. He then held a gun to the victim's head and ordered the 2 out of the vehicle. Police have since learned that the gun was a BB gun. As they exited, 3 or 4 males exited the acquaintance's car, and the victim was ordered to the ground and robbed of his wallet, phone, and money as he was repeatedly kicked in the face and the head. Now, the victim's friend also had his phone taken before the attackers fled the scene in the other vehicle. Now, the victim was later treated for minor injuries. The victim and his friend identified that acquaintance, who was arrested a short time later at his home in Trumbull. The 17-year-old was charged with first-degree robbery, third-degree assault, and fifth-degree larceny. And the Stamford Advocate reports that Stamford police investigators are looking into how a near 3-month-old baby was seriously injured on Stamford's east side on Tuesday. Medics were called to the baby's home on William Street at about 3 p.m. because the baby was unresponsive. That according to Sergeant Joseph Kennedy. Now, police were notified by Stamford police employees once the baby was diagnosed with what Kennedy would only describe as head trauma. The baby was airlifted to Yale New Haven Children's Hospital and is in stable but critical condition in what Kennedy assumes was the pediatric intensive care unit. Now, Kennedy, who commands the Youth Bureau unit of the police department, which investigates crimes by and against children, said it was standard operating procedure for police to investigate serious injuries like these. And in other news, a man originally thought to be an innocent bystander to a fight that broke out in the middle of the morning traffic in October on the Post Road in Westport has been arrested now. Now, police had shared this disturbing video of that assault back in October, and it was posted by westportnow.com. Now, police say 41-year-old Jose Alvarado of Bridgeport originally claimed to be a helpful bystander in the incident, but was later determined by detectives to have partaken in the assault and was known to one of the fighters, Fernando Morales of Derby. An arrest warrant was granted for Alvarado, and on February 2nd, he was detained by Connecticut State Police and then transported to Westport Police Headquarters, where he was charged with second-degree assault and released after posting a $25,000 bond. Now, some of that video shows Rafael Valle of Bridgeport exit a white van that proceeded to drive down the wrong side of the road in the wrong direction. Morales is then seen chasing after Valle, who falls to the ground prior to that assault. Now, that fight was said to have originated in Derby. And in other news, the State Environmental Conservation Police are asking for help finding the owner of an abandoned boat strangely left in the woods of northwestern Connecticut. Now, this vessel was left in the Housatonic State Forest off of Town Street in Cornwall. ENCON police are asking for help in identifying the person who owns it or is responsible for abandoning the vessel. They believe it was abandoned on or about January 27th. They ask anyone who may have seen this occur or recognizes the vessel to please contact their 24-hour emergency dispatch center at 860-424-3333. They say all tips will remain confidential. Well, all right, let's take one final look at your forecasts with Donald Eng. Don.
Well, Kate, we have a winter weather advisory in effect for today and most of tomorrow. It's in effect until for today till about 5 o'clock. We have snow, freezing rain, sleet till about 2 o'clock, and then freezing rain between 2 and 3, changing over to all rain after 3 p.m. It's about 31 degrees right now, so right on the border of rain and freezing rain or sleet. We're expecting a high about 40 degrees, but the rain will continue into the night, and temperatures should be dropping into the low 20s, so icing conditions could be happening all around the state and the region. Tomorrow, sunny, high near 31, wind chills about 15 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour northwest wind tomorrow night, dropping down into the teens again. And Friday, mostly cloudy with a high near 34, and then another wintry mix should move in Friday night into Saturday. Rain likely, and then a rain-snow mix happening throughout the day on Saturday with temperatures right around 35 or so degrees. So that's going to do it for your look at today's weather. Back to Kate.
Thanks so much, Don. And again, just as a reminder, our hockey broadcast for tonight has been postponed, but we will see you tomorrow for your coffee break at 11 with the latest local news and more. Have a great day.